Welcome everyone back to Rabbit Hole Stories. Today with the exciting Rob from Bitsaga. Rob, how has your day been so far?
It's been great, quite bumpy and crazy actually already, but it's been great. Yeah, never a dull day in Bitcoin, right? Almost said crypto there. Never a dull day in Bitcoin.
Why has it been bumpy? What's going on in your world today, mate?
So a couple hours ago, I should have been on the first podcast of the day. I don't do podcasts that regularly, but that turned out to be a scam when downloading some fancy AI automatic subtitles app, and that was really scary. Targeted message. Put the post up. It's wild out there. Absolutely, stay safe because and don't trust verify. It's more than a meme. It's real.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was really
the scams
crazy.
are getting like more and more sophisticated now, and I imagine AI is driving that sophistication as well in some ways. And
Yeah,
it's,
it was very
you know,
sophisticated. They had. I mean, it was a verified account on X with 1,000 followers. Two on the surface legit looking websites. A GitHub repo with like 600 stars. Yeah, just all the way through, a lot of proof of work went into that scam. And then if you're being targeted, non-technical, I'm afraid a lot of people get hooked.
wow. Thank goodness that you managed to avoid the scam, and thanks for putting that message out there for us to be extra vigilant. So yeah, thanks, Rob. Rob, it's a pleasure having you here at Rabbit Hole Stories. And it is what it says on the tin. We are interested in how you discovered Bitcoin. What is your rabbit hole story? Where did it all begin? And what did you think of it? How has that thought evolved? And what is it you're doing in the space now?
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on a legitimate podcast today.
I don't know about that.
My rabbit
We'll
hole
see about that,
story.
yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring up some coin better than Bitcoin down the road. 30 minutes in. So my rabbit hole story started, I guess, quite early on. Uh, but of course, I didn't quite grasp what I was dealing with at the beginning. And I got completely distracted, as I guess many of us, with this horrible abomination called crypto. And I have a technical background. I went deep into the trenches, I must admit, on chain leverage, on Avalanche. I have smart contracts on Ethereum, on my Ethereum address. If you can write code, TypeScript and Solidity is it's basically the same. So yeah, I went deep. I went full degen, um, and learned a lot. I guess we must say, but it's that was quite a ride. Degenerate crypto trading signal groups, pump and dump, joining in these things, um, and just kept on digging, kept on looking for a better thing. And then what clicked for me at some point was finally grasping the Lightning Network. That many of the arguments for crypto tokens and shitcoins, right? It's like it's so much faster or better in this regard, and then you're like, okay, Bitcoin is secure and it's really slow, and then it's actually it can be really fast, and if this thing works like that, and it's a layer on top of, and then why do we need like this whole other category of crypto? And they're like, is there more stuff like that? And that's when it started to click more on a different level that, okay, most of these crypto things, they're not actually better. So you focus again on Bitcoin and you just keep on thinking, right? And at some point you reach a level of, okay, this is not just a good investment. This is the revolution of our time. This is about fucking freedom. And it's not just movie quality stuff. This is fucking real. This is. I mean, because when you say a word like freedom, you think about Braveheart at the end of the movie, guy getting torn apart, right? But this is the fight of our time. That's what it has become for me. So that's been quite a ride. to discover it quite early on and get completely distracted into the trenches. And now having, I was going to say have clear focus, but that's not the case because there's so much going on. There's so much distraction within Bitcoin. Hardware wallet, software, I mean, yeah, everything. The Lightning Network in itself is a black hole. There's just the economic, philosophical implications. There's just black holes within black holes, right? It's just a fractal of black holes, the whole Bitcoin ethos. So yeah, that's it's been a crazy ride, and it's just not slowing down at all.
Yeah, man, there's so much noise that is trying to distract your attention out there, and I feel you. I went a little bit down that path as well with initially not understanding the difference, and trying to figure out what it's all about. And I guess in some way, I suppose you could say the deeper you go into that kind of distraction, the more you learn if you come out of it. But that's the big question, if you come out of it, right? Because there's a lot of people that are still engaged in that space and sort of seeking out the thing that you ultimately discovered, which is the value of Bitcoin ultimately, and what it stands for, and in your case, for freedom, which I agree with. So, I suppose it's sort of like a rite of passage, not a rite of passage, that's the wrong phrase, but it's almost like something you can reflect back on once you then realized what Bitcoin is. Would you agree with that? Or
Yeah, definitely. And then once it clicks on these higher levels, on a more philosophical level, or at least for me, it's like, okay, and I'm sure with you guys too, else we wouldn't be here. You have to do something with this. I mean, this is fire, this is fuel. And that's when Bitsaga started out. It was something completely different at first with a payment gateway provider. But there's some big players already doing some great things there, and BTP self custody stuff. I mean, there's a lot of challenges. Not a whole lot of demand on the merchant side yet. Hard to build a business on because it's all open source and free, and everyone can do it themselves. So pivoted more towards the hardware side because there's a lot of demand for that, and then lately pivoting or adding more the questions that come along. So Bitsaga has also been on a ride in discovering, okay, where can we do something valuable for the Bitcoin space with this? So now it's been the combination of hardware and consultancy. A lot of maxis are very wary about consultancy. I'll figure this, don't tell me what to do. They all want to figure it out for themselves, but a lot of high net worth individuals, they're like, okay, I get it now. It clicks. I want to invest and I want to do this properly. And okay, help me, because it's about a lot of money and you want to do this properly. There's a lot of scams. So that's really, I guess, the sort of the sales pitch. Yeah, that it's nor the hardware nor the consultancy, but the peace of mind at the end of the road that you can hold the self-sovereignty asset in. So that's what we're trying to do currently at Bitsaga, and still figuring out where that takes us.
Yeah, and you kind of went semi-viral. You told us before hitting record with a tweet about Bitcoin security. And honestly, I'm always shocked, obviously working at a self-custody company, how little people pay attention to these things. It doesn't matter if you tell them thousands of times, don't write down your seed phrase, don't make a screenshot, don't add it to Dropbox, Google Drive or something. Someone already fucks up immediately. What was your motivation behind that tweet? Was it more like an educational thing? We'll also link it in the show notes so people can check it out. Or was it really something that was close to your heart with what you do at Bitsaga?
So that was a really quick and dirty, even way of, okay, this idea of the book, we can talk about that later, is starting to crystallize, really. And I want to take that with the approach of building in public and writing everything out there, open for feedback from the first letter on, and condensing these things in bite-sized chunks, right? Tweet-size chunks, right? Because these are very actionable. Okay, how would you condense a more advanced security approach? Oh, okay, perhaps there's different levels, because condensed or bullet point things, summarized knowledge always or sometimes tends to do well. And I thought, I mean, it's just a small thing, and it absolutely exploded. It absolutely exploded. I mean, because Bitsaga's small account on X, I get 10, 20 likes, 100 if it's a nice Bitact related product, very nice picture. But this did 220K views in a little over 24 hours. So that was really crazy. So the algo really liked it, and a lot of people really liked it. And it was just highlighting, okay, what are different security levels in Bitcoin? Level 1 on an exchange, you don't really own. On level 0, yeah. And there's also a little insider in that. If you know that if it's on a exchange, you don't really own any Bitcoin. And then hot wallet, cold wallets, Shamir passphrase, Shamir secret sharing, multisig 2 of 3, multisig 3 of 5, connecting to a node. So really up into the more advanced levels. And it really took off, and it's actually really great to see, because I do feel, and that's the whole reasoning behind it, that we have been hammering on these basics of don't write down, don't take a picture of your seeds, not your keys, not your coins, but what's the next step? What if it's starting to be worth a significant, possibly life-changing amount of money? Perhaps you're not comfortable anymore with just keeping it on a hardware wallet. So what are the next steps? And that's really the reasoning behind it. And you see some people reacting on that tweet like, what? This is all Greek to me. This is all way too complex. And yeah, you're right. You're right. There's no single solution for everyone. Absolutely not. But it's great to see that there was a great amount of interest in the higher levels of security, so to say, beyond not your keys, not your coins.
Yeah, if there's one thing when you understand Bitcoin, if there's one thing you really want to do or should do, is think long and hard about how best you can secure it, right? Because it falls down to you at the end of the day, and it's your own responsibility if it doesn't work out for you. And you get a lot of people who haven't quite understood what Bitcoin is. They might have bought some on an exchange or whatever, and then the likes of FTX and stuff goes down, and then they associate that with Bitcoin. They don't understand it was the exchange that went down, and that's what puts out misinformation out there about what Bitcoin is and stuff like that, and elevates people's fear in getting involved in understanding it in the first place. And I always say to people, it's like going into a shop and buying a pair of trainers or whatever, and then asking the cashier if they wouldn't mind just holding on to those pair of trainers behind the counter for you, and you would come back for it one day, and then you're trusting them not to steal it, you're trusting them not to put it back on the shelf to resell it again. And there's so many other risk factors involved in it. And it's the same with buying Bitcoin on the exchange. And of course, you've put that as number 0. That's not secure in any way whatsoever. And it's just like having fiat money in your bank account. That balance you see, it's a mirage. It's not really real money as such. And it's trying to get over that hurdle. And, you've got all those. I'm just looking at your list now, and it goes right down to level 12. Have you had a lot of people sort of arguing your list or disagreeing with it in some way? Because I know some people have got views about multisig and all that sort of stuff. And what sort of stuff have you had, and what's your feeling about it?
Yeah. It's a very sensitive subject, right? Because we are talking about the implementations of how are a lot of people, Bitcoiners, securing their self-sovereignty. And it is by no means an objective source of truth. It is an opinion. And a lot of things in security are opinions, but a lot of things are not. Like 24 words are more secure than 12 words. You don't really need the 24 words. The entropy in 12 really gives you enough in like everyone's case. But some things, if you just look at it, are objectively true. And that's not always clear cut. There's a lot of opinions subjectively in there, and there's a lot of confirmation bias. When, I mean, I tend to call them the passphrase boys. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on so many toes here because I'm a multisig maxi, right? I'm just coming out. Okay, let's be clear about that. I'm a multisig maxi, and passphrase is a beautiful thing, but you can really notice by how people are arguing. Okay, yeah, your Bitcoin is protected by a passphrase, or you're using a seed signer. You don't want to use a hardware wallet, or you can really notice there's a lot of opinions and a lot of valid input in also injecting privacy into the security, connecting to your own node and valuing that. And even KYC, non-KYC Bitcoin. So there's a lot of valid feedback, and also some yet you notice, yeah, you don't really know what you're talking about if you're referring to that open source is not really that valuable, and YouTubers should be reviewing wallets code. And so it's a very sensitive subject. But I do feel like that by just putting content out there and being attacked, because I ended it with a question, and being open there and just being open to feedback, because that's how you build resilience. That's how you build quality. That's how the Bitcoin network is strong. Attack it. Please do. I mean, the ordinal scram, it's a full-on attack, and respond and make it stronger, make it better. So here's my thoughts on security. Attack it. Some things, I mean, I said something about Ledger wasn't wrong. I said a closed source hotkeys on a closed source shitcoin wallet, like Ledger, because everyone likes to shit on Ledger, right? But okay, you can't use Ledger as a hot wallet. Oh, I didn't know that. That was wrong of me. Okay, I stand corrected, and the list can get better. So yeah, there's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of opinions. You have to watch out with what you say, but some things are objective truths, and it's not always clear cut.
Yeah, and especially, we actually spoke about this in our latest episode, Ian and I. We have a lot of like circle jerking in the Bitcoin community, and there's a lot of like, influencer A is recommending wallet B because he's getting paid by it, or there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's part of marketing. I work in the marketing team, so I understand that. But I think what's always missing are the nuances. If someone based on a video of like one of the crypto guys on YouTube discovers Ledger, and they understood, okay, we go from exchange to self-custody, that's a process, and you're always, or you should constantly be learning. So we shouldn't be so quick to judge and have these incest fights, I call them, about, this and that and these things. But like you said, there are objectives, like single sig has one attack vector, multisig has 3, maybe 5, maybe 7, depending how you set it up. And that just makes it more secure based on if you have a wrench attack, if someone is trying to steal your stuff, if what you said before, if like there's this podcast scam going around. So a lot of these things often get missed out in this conversation. And I feel like, especially in security, there is no real 100% perfect fits all answer. It's really up to, how you want to secure that stuff. And for some people, it's fine to set up their multisig entirely themselves with all of the, let's call it, technical hurdles. And then other people go like, well, I'm fine with like having some of my stack on a single sig, and then I'll use a multisig with a service like, I don't know, Unchained, OnRamp, or Casa or something. And, okay, up to them. They want to trust that third party again. That's cool. So I think a lot of that really needs to stop happening in Bitcoin. Especially I'm talking about the social media hyperactive community, because there's very little signal there actually, and often quite a lot of noise.
Yeah, I can fully agree, and that's indeed the main drive behind trying to get some. Yeah, there's a big ambition here to I mean, because you do have a Bible, some sort of the why, being the Bitcoin standard by David Moose, right? I mean, that's like our Bible. I feel like a little bit, and that's like the why, and okay, some reference, like deep dive, not just an article, not just long form article on some website, but like a book, how, with evergreen principles, objective truths, strategies, methods, and then also implementations. And the problem with implementations is they get obsolete, because after a couple of years, there's a bunch of new hardware wallets on the market that are better, objectively better than the previous ones, or that makes a lot of sense that people prefer them. So that's difficult to take along, but the beautiful thing is that there are evergreen principles, an air gap. Every Bitcoiner now knows what an air gap is, and that's just a relatively advanced security principle. And the beautiful thing about the air gaps is that it's not only a huge security upgrade, but also a usability upgrade. Actually, it's not a trade-off in this sense, because you can just scan QR codes instead of plugging in over USB and having to push buttons. It's way easier, in my opinion. It is way easier. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It's not always a trade-off, but it's hard to go very specific and just offer people the options, the scenarios, right? And that's where I guess also the levels tweet came from. Okay, where are you at? What is a logical next step? Don't jump straight into multisig if you're coming from an exchange. Take it step by step. Play around with the wallet, with the passphrase, and don't put everything in there immediately. What is Shamir? Okay, maybe a multisig with one hotkey and one hardware key that you already have lying around. You buy one extra and you put it at your mom's house, whatever. So I guess that's a beautiful thing about these levels also. But it will evolve. I guess I will land on 21 levels, just for fuck's sake, right?
Yeah, that would be brilliant. I'm just reflecting a little bit on the little conversation earlier about learning and making mistakes, right? Because that's all part of like the don't trust, verify thing for me. Is you know, you have to engage. Once you understand Bitcoin, the value of it, you want to do something. I think is what you said earlier, and doing something includes engaging, right? And when you engage, you're at risk of other people engaging back, agreeing with you and disagreeing with you. And you can use those things as learning opportunities in a way. Some people, it's clear that you're not going to agree with, and they're just sort of shitposting and trolling. But there is some things that you're risking being attacked by putting stuff out there, and people sort of like disagreeing with you in different ways. But I think you should sort of always look at that as a reflection back and a test of your own knowledge of it. That's the way I kind of operate, because I used to get wound up by people and just sort of get engaged in arguments. But at the end of the day, people are going to say and believe what they want, and what you put out there is your own signal, and what you believe is valuable information in the space. So yeah, that's all I was going to add to that mix.
Yeah,
and I think
sorry.
Yeah, go on, mate. No, you crack on.
Yeah, this is something that has been a huge shift, and it's a little bit sad also for me in approaching this, in bringing this out, that I had to stop convincing people of things. I mean, just Bitcoin in general, even. Like I can't muster the energy to try to convince you of Bitcoin. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. But you don't know if the person on the other side is going to get convinced in 30 seconds, 3 months, or 3 years. And it all depends on their own context. And that's also the case with these security things, right? yeah, I'm a Multisig maxi. You can call me a Multisig maxi. I would wear that badge proudly. But I'm not trying to convince you of Multisig, because it's not the right tool for everyone. Just trying to put a lot of information out there, and then you have to figure it out for yourself. A lot of people don't want to figure it out. Just okay, what's your situation, and then that's where Bitsaga comes in. We help them, but a lot of maxis just want to figure it out for themselves. But yeah, that's been a huge shift in approach that I've had to let go of trying to convince people, and just okay, this is out there. It's all trade-offs. It's all trade-offs. These are the trade-offs of this thing. Single sig is awesome. Passphrase is awesome. Shamir's Multisig, they're all awesome, but they all each have their own trade-offs, and there are no solutions. There is definitely no one-size-fits-all solution. Everyone's stack is different. Everyone's background is different. Everyone's family, future path, whatever, where you're coming from, where you want to go to, your risk profile is different. So there are different solutions. There's so many different configuration options out there, that it's a beautiful thing that you can get a very nice, for you, beautiful fit security scheme. Just have to know what's out there and the trade-offs. Be aware of that, but not convincing anyone of anything. It's just too tiring.
Yes, completely. And I also stopped doing this, and I really live by Satoshi's quote, like, if you don't get it, I don't have time for you to convince you, sorry. And then also I'm going like, should we really be convincing, forcing opinions onto people? Because then you're no different than the religious institutions. And I'm quoting this on purpose because I do believe religion and the way it's being portrayed by the Catholic Church, by all of these institutions, is vastly different. And you can find your own way to God, to your beliefs, whatever, or you can follow the nonsense along and basically believe, child rapists and stuff, that they're good. Little bit of a side take there against the Pope and the Catholic Church. However, what's really important, I think, is you have to make stuff tangible. So if people cannot grasp a hardware wallet by it's a thing like a USB stick, or it looks like the Nokia phone, if you have something like a Foundation Passport, and you can now actually connect wallet 1, 2, 3, and you can play around a little bit. Does it have to be a physical thing? Do I have two physicals, one software solution? All of these kind of things. Do I have a tap card to sign, with like a tap signer? So all of these things really get mixed in. And once you actually then start giving people that access, I think that's where it really starts clicking. And this is why I love what you do with Bitsaga. As you mentioned, you have the consulting part, but if people want to buy a hardware wallet, if people want to get to know more about these things, they can buy the resources with you, and they have a face associated to that. So I think we really in the Bitcoin community need to start thinking about the marketing aspects here, and how important that human interaction is, and how solutions like yours can really help out. You quickly dove down into what Bitsaga is. How is your focus there? Is it sort of 50% on consulting, 25 on learning resources, 25 on the hardware, on the e-commerce side? How do you split your time up about the business itself?
So it evolved from being a payment provider, right, into more, okay, where is there demand? And that turned out to be the hardware side of things, and not just the hardware wallets like miners, and especially the Bitaxes now, right? It's a beautiful thing. So there's a lot of demand for that, and that just naturally grew a bit. But the focus now currently is angled more towards the consultancy side of things, because I gotta be honest, I gotta be fair here. The margins on the hardware side, they are ridiculous. It's not a good business. It's not. It is mainly to, from a philosophical and revolutionary standpoint, get hash rate and get people into self custody, because the margins on these products, they are ridiculous. So it's also from a business perspective standpoint, and helping people directly just gives a lot more satisfaction. And you notice that the effect is a lot greater. Selling something to a person or the signature service that we have, these are full day onboarding sessions, and the client's brains are cooked at the end of the day by the information overload. Okay, this was really a lot, and that's just so satisfactory. They really need to learn a lot. There's so many situations where there's disasters waiting to happen, significant amounts in very insecure situations. And then you're like, okay, yeah, this is really good. This was really necessary. You should have done this like 4 years ago. But yeah, so that's growing also naturally more now, the consultancy side of things, because we just, by talking to people, how that also came to be is people worry about their Bitcoin. I used to worry about my Bitcoin, not because I have a lot. I lost most of it in a tragic boating accident, but because I'm a face, right? And I was not comfortable with the single sig anymore. Really was not comfortable, like really uncomfortable. And I see that happening again with people. A lot of people worry about different things, but the same principles apply. Like a single point of failure, people know that a mistake by themselves, like an internal factor or an external factor, some $5 wrench or cyber attack, a single point of failure, people realize it and they're like, yeah, I'm not comfortable anymore. If it's 5 digits, sure, 6, 7, and that's where that also comes in. Just the hardware side is not enough anymore. You really have to crank it up to this next level. And do it properly. And it's not easy. I mean, Multisig has become significantly more approachable now with the air gaps and on the protocol layer, even with the PSBTs on the hardware side. Every wallet, a lot of wallets now having cameras, right? So it's a lot more approachable than, say, only just a handful of years ago. So that's also evolved naturally now, the consultancy side of things, just helping people get rid of their worries. And it means different things to different people, but with the right hardware and just the right guidance, people are like, okay, yeah, I'm good for this next cycle now. Come on, bring me the gains. Then you can see they're ready and they're not worrying anymore. That's just a beautiful thing to see, to be able to help people that way.
With the consultancy thing, because obviously you've got the individuals that you're consulting, and you've got institutions as well. And like, I imagine it's a good time to get involved in this field, I suppose. For you, it's probably a good opportunity because there are more and more institutions becoming more aware of Bitcoin, or they're realizing the benefit not only for their business, but for other strategies that they can get involved with to sort of like, as it evolves into a more hyper Bitcoinized world, they're realizing they need to get on board. So you've got the institutions and you've got individuals as well who might already understand Bitcoin, but they need a little bit more sort of nurturing through. I'm just wondering whether you're seeing an uptake in institutional interest, and why. And also with the individual, is it more motivated by them being unbanked in situations where they feel at risk of them losing their money or being cut off in any way? Or is it a mixture of different things?
So on the institutional aspect, and the answer is really short, 0.
Wow.
From my perspective, from Bitsaga's perspective, can't see anything moving there. There is definitely probably Joel from Relay side can on Relay private or more angle towards the corporate. We're not reaching, also not targeting. Probably it's got a lot to do with that. So yeah, not the best match there. I guess it also would make sense, and probably we'll see that more. On the individual side, why they're doing it, it's beautiful to see. It's the same reasons why we're doing it, just a lot more superficial. They start to feel that inflation it's just more than the number that they're telling us, and they feel the pain in a different way. The banks, EU, the regulation. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of skepticism, systemic skepticism after COVID. Huh? So it's the same things that drive us, the Bitcoin maximalists, just more superficial. But it's a whole journey, right? It's been a huge journey for me too, for everyone, I guess. So that's beautiful to see that everyone's starting to feel something's wrong, and Bitcoin really is a great way to hedge against a lot of the things that are fishy.
I guess also something that's now a couple of months old. I remember doing a tweet or X post about it. You also saw debanking happening in the Bitcoin space, in the crypto space, and just generally also it's being used as a political weapon. I know a few people over here who are close friends with, one of these alternative media magazines, and they also got recently debanked in Austria because they were investigating the Green Party and a lot of shady stuff there. And suddenly the bank started sending out letters like, "Oh, sorry, we can't service you anymore." And you also had your experience in debanking. Maybe take the listeners and the watchers, the viewers through it of what that is like, really having your bank account shut in an instant.
Yeah, so I want to start at the beginning, which was actually the deplatforming of Stripe. And that post actually also went totally viral within Bitcoin X.
And maybe for the listeners and viewers, Stripe is like a payment service where you can...
It's a payment gateway, yeah. So people can pay with credit card and debit card. And that's not possible now anymore on the Bitsaga website. I got deplatformed, and there's no alternative. A lot of people have reached out. Have you tried this? I've tried it. They're all putting you in the same bucket of crypto. You're a scam, and we don't want to serve you. Or they're scared of the regulators. Is also often happening. So that deplatforming happened by Stripe. People now, there's less payment options on the Bitsaga website as we speak. And of course, you can pay with Bitcoin. So that happened, the deplatforming and the refusal by every other payment provider out there also. So that was 1 year ago, actually. And then 3 months or so ago, so here's the situation of Bitsaga, right? So people are paying us with Bitcoin. We have to pay our suppliers in filthy fiat. So every now and then, with a very sad face, I have to sell some Bitcoin to pay the suppliers, right? They haven't seen the bright orange light yet. They want euros. That's just my reality as a business owner. And peer-to-peer is lovely. Fuck the exchanges. So peer-to-peer transaction, sub 1K transaction. And check this out. My private account, my business accounts, savings accounts, checkings accounts of my 2 banks, Belfius and KBC, 2 big banks in Belgium. Everything without any communication, completely blocked, unbanked, just like that. No communication. To this day, 0 communication from any bank. Call customer support. Sir, there's nothing we can do. I know of nothing. Something's ongoing. Can't tell you anything at this point. Absolutely wild. Out of this world. I am a criminal. I am a Russian dissident. That's how I feel. I am a Chinese. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And it happened for 1 week. To answer your question, what's it like? You hear this story, and so I'm driving to Bitcoin Amsterdam Exchange to the conference, and then it was going on for like a week or so, and I didn't bring it. I was really thirsty, but I could not stop by the side of the road at a gas station and buy myself a drink or something to eat. And then you realize that that's just this now, but you are ejected in the most fundamental sense. This is the most important part of society, arguably, money, right? And you're just completely ejected. It's so harsh, it's so brutal. That's the point you realize how much power they really have. And don't whine to me about, what you can do. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I run a BTC Pay server. I sell nodes. There's 10 shipping to El Salvador. I know the things to do, and the power they have, it's total. It's crazy. No justification whatsoever. To this day, one bank got unblocked. That account's now operational. That's the main business account. And one bank, KBC, it's now 3 months in, zero communication, completely blocked. Still absurd.
Yeah, and I love the guys. I also had a similar experience with my checkings account where it got not blocked and shut down, but I was restricted from accessing it. So money kept going in, money also kept going out with all of the fixed payments I had scheduled, but I couldn't access it. And I then posted about it, and I loved a few replies like, well, this is why you have cash. I go like, yes, I was lucky to have cash because I'm always having just a safety stash at home. Also, if you go out in Austria, you can pay a lot with cash, and I think it makes more sense if you already spend fiat to also use cash. But if you don't have any cash, how do you get it if you don't get access to your bank account? Should you now ask friends and family for like emergency loans or something like this? It's absolutely ridiculous if you've ever been in this experience.
It's craziness, man. It's like, oh, thank you, bank, for letting me use my money, and then telling me when I can't, which makes you think, is it even your money in the first place? Which it's not at the end of the day, right? Big brother's there, sort of like, nah, and they're just cutting you off without any explanation. It's sort of like leaving you sort of like in this position. And, there are places in the world, yes, there are more oppressive places in the world and less freedoms and stuff like that. But ultimately, we all rely on existing in this system by them granting us access to it until the point where they decide, actually, no, you can't have it any more access to it. It's madness. And this is like, if this is not a case for why you should look at Bitcoin and understand it, I don't know what is, to be honest.
And so close to home, it's not
a
Russian dissident.
Of course.
I'm just a guy running a business selling specialized hardware and helping people. I'm just like a specialized IT company, basically.
Yeah.
That's
and even
not a custodian, not a key custodian, nothing like that. Just a specialized IT company, basically.
And in regards to the Russian situation, like if you're born in Russia and you live there your entire life, are you not the bad guy for having the wrong passport as well? I also never understood the ideas behind the sanctions, because anyone with a basic understanding of economics knew these are not going to work, and they definitely didn't work. So also that perspective as an argument to me is so ludicrous, and the vast difference between Bitcoin and these institutions, where you go, you don't need to ask your peer or someone who pays you to like, is it okay if I accept Bitcoin? If they send it and you can receive it, it's just the basis of the network. If you play according to these rules, everything works, and you don't have to ask for that permission. Just like you don't actually have to ask for permission to use the internet, but they're also scrutinizing this and over-regulating and trying to control every aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think the source cause is regulation. They are scared. The payment providers, Stripe, Wise, everything, they're scared of getting sanctioned by the regulators. The banks, they don't want your money if they don't know where it's coming from, because they have to know where it's coming from, because the regulator, the almighty regulator, says so. They're just scared. You're doing a transaction, you don't can completely justify where it's coming from, then they get fines, and they're just scared. It's crazy that is really the cause of and the Bitsaga story went viral when Stripe deplatformed us, but it is happening systemically, not just choke point in the US, but here also it's systemic. It's scared, and the underlying cause is, I guess, EU regulations, where there's a lot, and it's only getting worse. And I think that's a front within the war that's a little bit untapped, that we have to take this battle to them, play it over there. I think, I'm afraid, a little bit more than we are currently. In the US, there's some things moving. Dennis Porter is is shouting a lot, but he's also getting things done. And in the EU, I guess we also need voice and educate the regulators. Like, this is something for good. This is an opt-in freedom system, and get rid of all these ridiculously, breaking regulations.
Yeah, I would argue there's a lot more happening in Europe in the background than what you would think. I leave my 2 cents to myself in regards to Dennis. I think everyone has their own opinion about the way he gets things done. But as you said, every signal is, at the end of the day, a positive one. Speaking of signal, we usually end our episodes, Rob, on a little bit of a challenge for our guests. We want to prove the word or the saying, all roads lead back to Bitcoin. And we will now give you a word or a phrase, and you have to relate that back to Bitcoin somehow. And today we thought the word for you, speaking about all of these things, would be scam. How does that relate back to Bitcoin?
So I guess it's a beautiful inversion that happens. Everyone's saga, if I may so lamely plug here, that at first you think Bitcoin and crypto is a scam, and then as you educate yourself more, that narrative gets completely flipped on its head, and you learn that Bitcoin is not a scam. Everything else, or the current system we're operating in, is the big scam. So that's, I guess, the approach I would like to take there, besides almost getting scammed today, because we know these attacks, right? That's juicy, but the bigger story here is the systemic one, and that journey, that's beautiful. And we now see that, but there's a lot of work to be done to have regulators and others see that too, that we're not the ones scamming.
Yeah, we're still early, and the biggest scam of all being fiat money. Rob, thank you so much for spending your finite time here with us at Rabbit Hole Stories. It's been an honor and a pleasure. But before we sign out, where can people find you, and where can people find Bitsaga?
Mostly on X, at Bitsaga Rob, and the website bitsaga.be. Soon this year, also the book Securing Bitcoin, hopefully, alongside Consensus Network. A little bit too soon perhaps. But
we're going to have to get you back on to talk about your book at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. X and the website. That's where it's all happening, right?
Excellent. Yeah. Rob, thank you again. And for everyone else, stay curious.